Are you ready to uncover the thrilling story of how the world's most wanted terrorist, Osama Bin Laden, was finally brought to justice? On May 1st, 2011, a team of elite American soldiers embarked on a daring mission to capture or kill the leader of al-Qaeda. A decade-long manhunt for the mastermind behind the 9/11 attacks finally came to a dramatic end in a secret compound in Pakistan. But what really happened inside that mysterious compound in Pakistan? How did they locate him? And what was the impact of his death on the global fight against terrorism? Before we dive into his biography, please hit the like and subscribe button and turn on the notification bell. Let's dive in. Who was Osama Bin Laden? Osama Bin Laden joined the Afghan resistance during the Soviet-Afghan War in 1979, and after the Soviet withdrawal, he formed the al-Qaeda network, which carried out several attacks against Western interests. The most infamous and deadliest of these attacks were the September 11, 2001 attacks on the World Trade Center and the Pentagon. On May 2, 2011, President Barack Obama announced that Bin Laden was killed in a terrorist compound in Abbottabad, Pakistan, in a special operation conducted by US Special Forces. Early years. Osama Bin Laden was born on March 10, 1957, in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. He was the son of construction billionaire Mohammed Awad Bin Laden and his 10th wife, Syrian-born Alia Ghanem. He was the 7th of 50 children born to Mohammed and the only child from his father's marriage to Alia Ghanem. From rags to riches, the story of Osama Bin Laden's father is a true rags to riches tale. Starting as a simple porter in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia in the 1930s, Mohammed Bin Laden quickly impressed the royalty with his building skills and attention to detail. Fast forward to the 1960s, and he was now the go-to guy for building extensions on the Mecca, Medina, and Al-Aqsa mosques, making him one of the most sought-after and influential figures in the city. But his generosity knew no bounds. During a financial crisis, he paid all civil servants wages for the entire kingdom for 6 months, earning the respect and love of his community. Mohammed Bin Laden was a father like no other, with a strict code of discipline and high expectations for his children. Living under one roof, the Bin Laden children were raised to be the epitome of religious and moral virtues. But it was his sons who faced the toughest challenge, as their father treated them not as kids but as young adults, expecting them to be confident, self-sufficient and responsible. He instilled in them a strong sense of discipline and work ethic, preparing them for a life of responsibility and leadership. A childhood marked by a broken home, Osama Bin Laden barely knew his father before his parents divorced. His mother, Alia Ghanem, took him to start a new life with her new husband, Mohammed Al-Attas. Growing up with his step-siblings, Bin Laden attended the most prestigious high school in Jeddah, Al-Taqa Model School. But fate had other plans, as his biological father, the construction billionaire Mohammed Bin Laden, went on to marry twice before his untimely death in a plane crash in 1967. Who would have thought that a shy 14-year-old student in a prestigious school in Jeddah would change the world forever? But that's exactly what happened to Osama Bin Laden when he received an invitation to join a small Islamic study group with a promise of earning extra credit. Little did he know, this group of elite students would lead him down a path of religious fervor and the principles of violent jihad. But how did this innocent study group turn into a breeding ground for extremism? And what role did this play in shaping the man who would become the world's most wanted terrorist? A secret society, a radical teacher, and a group of impressionable teenagers. This was the recipe for disaster that led to the rise of one of the world's most infamous terrorists. The teacher who educated the children in the study group was influenced by a sect of Islam called the Brotherhood, which believed in instituting a pure Islamic law around the Arab world. Using parables with violent endings, the teacher instilled in his pupils the importance of instituting a pure Islamic law by any means necessary. As the years passed, Bin Laden and his friends transformed into teen Islamic activists, preaching their cause, growing untrimmed beards, and imitating the Prophet's dress. From hero to exile. From a degree-holding student to a freedom fighter in a matter of years, the story of Osama Bin Laden is nothing short of a wild ride. When the Soviet Union invaded Afghanistan in 1979, Bin Laden felt the call to arms and joined the Afghan resistance, believing it was his duty as a Muslim to fight the occupation. He packed his bags and headed to the war-torn country of Afghanistan, where he received aid from the United States and began training a group of Islamic jihadists, the Mujahideen. But what happened after the Soviets withdrew from the country in 1989? How did a hero become a terrorist? As he returned home from Afghanistan, he found himself at odds with the very government he'd fought for, disappointed by what he saw as corruption, and dismayed by the presence of American troops on sacred Saudi soil. Bin Laden's frustration with his government reached a boiling point. Despite attempts to silence him, the Saudi government banished the former hero to a life of exile in Sudan. Formation of al-Qaeda. Under the leadership of Osama bin Laden, a group of like-minded militants came together in 1993 with a shared goal: to implement pure Islamic law around the world by any means necessary, recruiting soldiers based on their ability to listen, manners, obedience, and a pledge to follow their supporters. The group quickly gained strength and began to organize global attacks. But as the world began to take notice, the Saudi government, under pressure, revoked bin Laden's citizenship and cut off his $7 million yearly stipend. Despite losing his citizenship and funding, Osama bin Laden was determined to bring the United States to war, no matter the cost. Using his terrorist network, al-Qaeda, bin Laden orchestrated a series of deadly attacks aimed at drawing the US into conflict. From truck bombings to killing tourists, each attack was executed with precision and a singular goal in mind: to unite Muslims under a single, true Islamic state. In 1996, to forward his goal, al-Qaeda detonated truck bombs against US-occupied forces in Saudi Arabia. The next year, they claimed responsibility for killing tourists in Egypt. And in 1998, they carried out a devastating attack on US embassies in Nairobi, Kenya, and Tanzania, killing nearly 300 people in the process. But what were the motives behind these attacks? How did bin Laden believe they would lead to his ultimate goal? Bin Laden's actions abroad did not go unnoticed by the Sudanese government, and as a result, he was exiled from their country in 1996. Exiled and on the run, Osama bin Laden found refuge in the unlikeliest of places, Afghanistan. Under the protection of the Taliban, bin Laden issued a series of fatwas, religious statements, which declared a holy war against the United States. In these statements, he accused the United States of pillaging Muslim countries and supporting the enemies of Islam. Moving on. 9/11 attacks. The terrorist attack that shook the world on September 11, 2001 will forever be etched in history as the day that changed America forever. A small group of al-Qaeda terrorists hijacked 4 commercial passenger aircraft in the United States and used them as weapons of mass destruction, crashing 2 into the World Trade Center towers, 1 into the Pentagon, and the 4th plane was retaken by passengers and crashed in a field in Pennsylvania. The intended target of the final aircraft was believed to be the United States Capitol. With nearly 3,000 innocent lives lost in the attack, the world stood still, watching in shock and horror as the events of that fateful day unfolded. The world's most wanted man, Osama bin Laden, went into hiding following the 9/11 terrorist attacks, as a coalition led by the United States successfully overthrew the Taliban. For over a decade, the world's top intelligence agencies hunted him down along the Afghanistan-Pakistan border. But just as the world thought he had vanished without a trace, bin Laden made a shocking reappearance, claiming responsibility for the 9/11 attacks in a video message in 2004. As the years passed, bin Laden continued to release statements and videos, taunting the world and evading capture. But his story would not end there. Be glued as we uncover the truth behind the manhunt for the world's most notorious terrorist. Death. On May 2, 2011, President Obama announced that bin Laden had been killed in a terrorist compound in Abbottabad, Pakistan. The operation was led by CIA Director Leon Panetta and American Special Forces, who carried out an 8-month plan to capture or kill bin Laden. In the raid, bin Laden was shot several times and his body was taken as evidence of his death. DNA tests confirmed that the body was indeed bin Laden's. President Obama addressed the nation and stated that bin Laden's death marked the most significant achievement to date in the effort to defeat al-Qaeda. He also added that his demise should be welcomed by all who believe in peace and humanity dignity. Well, that marks the end of our video today. Thanks for joining us on this journey through the life and legacy of Osama bin Laden. From his early days as a student to his rise as the leader of al-Qaeda, we uncovered the truth behind the man who orchestrated the 9/11 terrorist attacks. But the story doesn't end here. The fight against terrorism continues, and the world is still grappling with the aftermath of bin Laden's actions. Stay tuned for more informative and engaging content on our channel. If you like this biography, please like the video and subscribe to our channel to be amongst the first to know when we release a new video. Here are some videos for you to watch. See you in one of the next videos.